Good morning, students and teachers. Welcome to our live stream for the 11 a.m. hour. Please stay tuned and we'll get started here in just a few more minutes. Please stay tuned.
Hello, everyone. I'm Congresswoman Deb Haaland, and I'm honored to share a few words during this year's Discovery Festival. The 6th annual Discovery Festival, hosted by Big Brothers Big Sisters, has become a wonderful tradition, providing a wide array of opportunities for New Mexico students to discover the future of STEM. New Mexico is home to many historic and consequential scientific breakthroughs, discoveries that range from revolutionizing the way we'll power the cities of the future to expanding our ability to explore the cosmos. This year, for the first time, Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central New Mexico is hosting Discovery Fest virtually. I'm amazed at how many events and presentations this team has put together under such challenges this year, and I'm delighted to see that a record number of New Mexico students will join the fun and the learning of Discovery Fest. New Mexico is an amazing home for technology, and our kids are in a great position to learn more and take advantage of our state's unique and important role in the national tech space. In Congress, I support expanding STEM. Opportunities like Discovery Fest and fighting for resources for your incredible teachers, because I know how important science, technology, engineering, and math will be for our future. I want to let you all know about my annual Congressional App Challenge that invites students to come up with one-of-a-kind apps and have their app displayed at the national level. Students learn to code, manage a project, and learn more about technology. In that spirit, I'm thrilled to welcome this future generation of innovators, inventors, and explorers, and all the incredible teachers developing these bright young minds to this year's event. Our beautiful state of New Mexico, America, and frankly, our whole world's future will be counting on the creativity and innovative spirit of you young people. So I want to encourage all the future physicists, researchers, biologists, and engineers watching right now to keep reaching for the stars. Learn all you can, and most of all, have fun at this year's Discovery Fest. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the live stream. Thank you so much for those words of support to Congresswoman Deb Haaland. My name is Will Tapia, and I'm the Advancement Coordinator for Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central New Mexico, and I, too, would like to welcome you to our live stream this morning. As Congresswoman Haaland said, this is our 6th annual Discovery Festival. So I want to talk just real quick about what Discovery Festival is normally outside of a pandemic, and then, of course, what Discovery Festival looks like this year. So again, outside of a pandemic, Discovery Festival is a one-day event held at the Albuquerque Convention Center. We get about 3,000 students who all descend on the Convention Center for a day of amazing STEAM exhibits, hands-on STEAM exhibits. And STEAM, as we all know, stands for science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics. We get about 50 exhibitors from all across these various areas of STEAM. It's amazing. The students get a lot out of it, the teachers get a lot out of it, and even the exhibitors get a lot out of it. Now this year, in 2020, of course, as we all know, we find ourselves stuck in the middle of a COVID-19 pandemic. That's why, as you see here, I'm broadcasting from the comfort of my own home. So we find ourselves again in the midst of this unfortunate pandemic. So we've been unable to have our Discovery Festival as we have had it in the past. So instead of having just a one-day event, we have had 3.5 weeks of presentations starting all the way back on November the 2nd, if you can believe it. It's been that long. It's been, 21 days that we've been doing this. So yeah, so we've had 3.5 weeks of different live streams that have been aired across various platforms. The one that we, have had a lot of success with is YouTube. So welcome if you're watching here on YouTube. And so just some kind of ground rules about our YouTube. if anything happens, if the stream goes down for whatever reason, if there's an outage, who knows, right? It's technology. I don't think there will be anything, but just in case, come right back here to our YouTube page. That's the BBBS CNM YouTube page. And we will have the stream up and running shortly. Fingers crossed. I don't think anything's going to happen. We haven't had any problems, but I mean, you never know, right? So that being said, also please use the chat function on YouTube. If you ask any questions in that chat function, tell us where you're watching from, what school you're from, and we will share all of that with our presenter live on the live stream. Teachers, if you're streaming this inside of your Google Classroom, please be sure to send us your questions or anything your kids talk about in those chats, and we will give a shout out on the program. Speaking of shout outs, I do want to give a shout out, as always, to our wonderful sponsors here. Without these wonderful folks, what you're seeing today would not be possible. So a big shout out is due first up to our Da Vinci presenting sponsor, Honeywell. Thank you so much, Honeywell, for your partnership and your sponsorship. They gave some amazing presentations that you can watch by checking out our website, discoveryfestnm.org. Thank you so much, Honeywell. To our curious sponsor, Fidelity Investments. Fidelity also gave two amazing presentations. They talked about what is credit and why save. And Fidelity is a hit every single year at the Discovery Festival. They normally have a 3-booth amazing exhibit, and they did not disappoint this year. So please, if you missed out, be sure to check it out on our website. Thank you so much, Fidelity, for your Curie sponsorship. To our ride sponsors, to Aztec Machine and Repair out in beautiful Bloomfield, New Mexico, Airforce Research Laboratory, AFRL. They spoke last Tuesday about satellites. Thank you both for your sponsorship. To our Newton sponsors, the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, DTRA, Kirtland Air Force Base, who we have coming on very shortly, Micronet Solutions, Sandia National Laboratories, and all of our heroes at Presbyterian Hospitals. Thank you so much for your sponsorship. Okay. I think that's pretty much it by way of announcements. Again, please be sure to use that chat function. Send us your questions. Send us anything that you have on your mind, where you're watching from, anything like that, and we will share it on air. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce our presenter for this morning's live stream. We have our special guest this morning is Cindy Dominguez Trujillo. She's representing the 377th Air Base Wing at Kirtland Air Force Base. It's a tongue twister, Cindy. Do we have you on the line?
Good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome again to Discovery Festival. As Will said, my name is Cindy Dominguez Trujillo. I work out at Kirtland Air Force Base. I work for the 377th Air Base Wing, and I have been privileged to be part of Discovery Festival for the last 3 years. And so I'm really excited. Well, I wish we could be out at the convention center at the table playing with little robots and, our digital arms and robotic arms, rather. I did want to share this morning a little bit with you about Kirtland Air Force Base, where I work. I am their diversity and affirmative employment officer for the Air Force. But most importantly, I always like to tell our students that I'm a native New Mexican, very proud of being a native New Mexican. I went to Carlos Ray Elementary School here in Albuquerque, and then to John Adams Middle School. I graduated from West Mesa High School, and then I went to college here in New Mexico. I went to New Mexico State out in Las Cruces, and to the University of New Mexico here in Albuquerque. So this morning, my goal is to just tell you a little bit about Kirtland Air Force Base, because we do have a lot of jobs and opportunities in the STEM area. So I'm going to begin with a little bit with a video, and then I will tell you some tidbits about Kirtland, kind of give you a flavor of what exists on the other side of the fence line. I know that many of you, some of you have had the opportunity to visit Kirtland, while many of you may not have had the opportunity. So without further ado, I'm going to start with the video, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit about that little city that I work in.
We all know our freedoms don't come free. It costs the best of what we are It cost our strength. It cost our ingenuity. It cost our determination. At Kirtland Air Force Base in Albuquerque, New Mexico, we are determined to give our all. Like the Sandia Mountains on our horizon, we stand at the peak of America's most advanced military research, nuclear deterrent, and elite military training. The 377th Air Base Wing is the host organization to more than 100 mission partners. Among these are the Airforce Nuclear Weapons Center. We synchronize all nuclear material management. We directly support the Air Force Global Strike Command. Sandia National Laboratories, the nation's leading military research facility. We develop new technologies to sustain, modernize, and protect our nuclear arsenal. The Air Force Inspection Agency. We provide education, oversight, and evaluation for almost every aspect of the Air Force. Air Force Research Laboratory. We are the center of Air Force space technology research and development, and are pioneering new laser systems and high-power electromagnetic weapons that help minimize collateral damage. The 58th Special Operations Wing. We train the most elite Air Force warriors who conduct special operation missions and combat search and rescue. These are the Air Force's tip of the spear. Kirtland Air Force Base and the people living in the communities of Albuquerque, New Mexico, who provide the support and backbone to our mission, are true patriots. We are at the heart of our nation's defense.
So I hope that you all enjoyed that video. It kind of just gives you a few photos of the small city that I work on. That small city every day allows about approximately 24,000 employees to go across those gates and go to work. And I look frozen, so I'm wondering if you all can hear me.
Yep, we still got you
I'm
loud
going
and
to take
clear.
just a moment. Okay. But other things that I want to share with you about Kirtland Air Force Base, for those of you who have never had the opportunity to visit Kirtland, is that it's like a small city. We have our own chapel, we have our McDonald's, we have our own gym, we have our own theater, our own fire department. And as I said, 24,000 employees come across that fence line to work every day. And we have all kinds of opportunities. We have different occupations, lots of them in the STEM arena, lots of physicists, engineers, but also we have folks that work in our lodging area, our hotels, our bowling alley. We have folks who are employees who work on heavy equipment. So just lots and lots of things and opportunities. It is the 6th largest base in the Air Force, and which means that we sit on a little over 50,000 acres. So just a little trivia for you. If we took Washington, D.C., we could actually place it inside Kirtland Air Force Base. So that's how big it is. We spend a lot of time supporting munitions, research, development, and testing, and operations. So that's just a little bit about Kirtland. I hope some interesting trivia for you. And with that, I wanted to share a few of the different intern opportunities.
We did get some questions if I can jump in before the
Oh,
internship
great.
opportunities. Yeah. So a couple of questions that we had coming in. First up is, and this is kind of an interesting question too, just asking a little bit more for specifics. What is the 377th Airborne Wing?
So in the Air Force, as you know, we primarily we support air, right? The air or airplanes, because I know that everybody frequently thinks that if you work for the Air Force that you fly an airplane. Just so you know, I've never flown an airplane, but obviously airplanes have wings on them, right? We are just one of the wings. The 377th Air Base Wing is very important to Kirtland, simply because we are what they call the host, meaning that the commander for the 377th Air Base Wing, he serves as sort of the mayor of our city. And so I work under that particular wing of the airplane, so to speak.
Interesting. Okay, that's really fascinating, actually. And so, and this is probably a common thought a lot of people have. Why is it so hard to get on the base?
So we do. It's difficult to get on the base because of the kind of work that we do. There is a lot of there's a lot of research done on the base. We secure, a lot of equipment on the base. And so that's why it's difficult to get on the base. Frequently, you cannot get on the base unless you work on the base or you're retired military and you have an ID to get on the base. But one thing I'd like to open up for the future is, I try to take as many students across our fence line to let them get a firsthand look at all of the different occupations, equipment, opportunities that exist at Kirtland. So if any of you teachers out there are interested, when this pandemic, I hope, goes away, to visit Kirtland, I'd love to entertain you and your students and bring you across the fence line so that you could get a flavor of all of the different opportunities that exist for students out there, specifically in the STEM arena.
Awesome. And as someone who is bowled at that bowling alley you were talking about earlier, it is very cool up there. It is like a little city. And speaking of being a little city, so this student wants to know, so do people live on base?
We do have people who live on base. We have housing on base, and we have housing it's primarily for those in a uniform. But if it's not all occupied, it is also available to civilians. Civilians being those employees who do not wear a uniform and work for the Air Force.
Awesome, great. And then last question, just about the small city, almost a state size, is why are there so many acres?
I would be lying if I told you why. I really don't know why we have so many acres. I can tell you that it's not all occupied. At some point in time, before it became an Air Force base, I can tell you that it was an Army base that became an Air Force base. And that happened in, I believe it was 1941 or so. So, but we don't occupy all of the land. We do occupy a tremendous amount of it, but not all of it. So we have lots of room to grow.
That's amazing. Okay, well, I'm going to pass it back over to you. Keep those questions coming, students and teachers. Thanks.
So a few of the opportunities in the STEM area that I wanted to share with you is that we have lots of internships that are available. For example, out at the Air Force Research Lab, we have what we call AFRL Scholars Program. We have some internships that are available to students starting at the high school level and then going on through the undergrad and the graduate level in college. And then, of course, we have what we call our SMART intern program. That stands for Science, Math, and Research for Transformation. This is a very generous internship. This internship offers students paid full tuition. It offers them paid internships while they're going to school. But most importantly, it offers them a employment after they graduate. And then, of course, those are in the STEM arenas, but we also have internships. We also have internships that aren't in the STEM arena. We have what we call the Copper Cap intern program that's available to a lot of our business majors as well as engineering majors. These are positions in our contracting area. And then again, we have what we call our Palace Acquire program. And I will tell you that I actually came to work in the Palace Acquire program over 30 years ago out of college. In that particular program, we hire students out of college. And those are just a few of the different intern opportunities that we have. So I'd like you to keep those in mind, when you, as you become a high schooler and if you're interested in STEM, you might want to apply for some of them, or you run off to college and, keep in mind that we have some of those career opportunities. So with that, what I'd like to do is go to a video that where we have, and then we highlight a few of our interns who can speak to you about their opportunities. And I want you to pay really close attention to the background of that video and those interns who are talking to you, because there's a lot of cool STEM equipment that is the backdrop for them. So with that, we'll move to the next video.
Now, we must be ready for a new danger, the atomic bomb.
We want to make sure that the only nukes are ever used were the two that were used in World War II.
We know the devastation. It's something that you don't want to be ever used.
You will know when it comes. We hope it never comes, but we must get ready.
But we also want to know that we've got the capability should we need it.
By us having that nuclear arsenal, we're able to deter anyone from doing the same thing to us.
There is a bright flash, brighter than the sun, brighter than anything you've ever seen.
The triad nuclear mission is the ICBM missile, then you have the nuclear submarines, and then you have the air-launched cruise missile.
To have these weapons of deterrent means we don't have to go to war.
I think that it's best, because we need them, that we're responsible about them.
The fact that we all play a role in providing that assurance to the country is pretty awesome.
It's something that you wouldn't get to do anywhere else.
So we've got a wide range in the science and engineering career field here.
You get to do whatever type of engineering you want. If you're an industrial engineer, there's places for you. If you're in quality assurance, there's a place for you. If you want to design something, there's a place for you. Or if you want to test things, blow them up, there's also a place for you there too.
There are people who look, solely at composites. There are people that solely look at different electronic systems. If you're interested in avionics, there's definitely that. The software division is really large, so computer science engineers, even electrical engineers have a great opportunity there.
It's rockets, it's aircraft, it's missiles, it's kind of everything.
You're never stuck in the same job. There are always places to move. If you're ready to get more experience in a different area, it's out there.
Just a broad spectrum of things wherever you want to go.
There's so many opportunities to learn and to grow.
We take care of every component that makes the missile fly. I'm a troubleshooter, a problem solver.
My background is in mechanical engineering, but a lot of the things that I work with, I have to pull knowledge from materials science or from electrical engineering, and so I'm constantly challenging and learning and growing.
Being an engineer in the government, I get to see the things that are being made today and the things that are going to be used tomorrow.
The technology in the Air Force is both leading edge and a look into the past.
A lot of people think that, if you're going to do really cool engineering, you have to be in the cutting edge. But what's really more challenging is to take a system that does have older parts and try and figure out creative ways to resolve those.
Bringing up the weapon system into the information age. It's almost like building the weapon from ground zero.
We got old missiles in silos, but it's a modernization of those missiles. It's putting new technologies in them. You're taking something that's been out in the field for several decades, and we need to find a way to make sure that it is current.
How are we going to do that is really up to future engineers of the Air Force. The thought of designing something like the trestle is very scary and exciting at the same time. The trestle was used for testing aircraft for electromagnetic pulse. It's a pretty impressive structure, completely made out of wood. It's our job as engineers, especially young engineers, to think about how we're going to rebuild this capability. It's exciting, you're doing something nobody else in the world is doing, and scary because you're doing something nobody else in the world is doing.
It's always something new, and that makes you want to stay for a long time.
As a civilian, you get to stay in a position for a lot longer period of time and be that continuity. You don't have to worry about getting laid off tomorrow.
You can come and work a program from cradle to grave and own that program and really feel invested in that program.
For my age, I have a ton of responsibility. I don't know if I would get that opportunity in the commercial world, if you will.
Because we don't work in a profit environment. We have the opportunity to do those hard engineering problems that the commercial industry wouldn't find attractive from a return on investment point of view.
If you don't know what you want to do, or if you know you want to do something in aviation, the Air Force is a great place to try different things out.
I would definitely recommend anyone who has an interest in being an intern to apply. They were constantly introducing me to new things that I had never experienced before.
The Palace Acquire program is a great opportunity for students that are still in school. We want to have you over the summer. Also, we ideally would love to have you come in during the winter. The Smart Scholar program is another wonderful opportunity because you get the opportunity to work for a couple of years with us, then go away to school. So you're going away to school, we're paying for your master's degree. During that, you also wind up with a stipend from the Air Force.
The Smart Scholarship paid my tuition and my books, and they also give you a stipend. I got out of college debt-free and with a sizable savings account already in place. It's not about making money, and it's not about climbing a ladder. You feel motivated to do your job and to do it well because you know that every day you are supporting your troops in a way that only you can.
This is my opportunity to give back. It's a noble profession.
An important piece of the overall whole.
It's absolutely awesome to know that I'm defending the nation and supporting that nuclear triad.
My job is surety, safe, secure, effective, reliable design.
My job, it's a perfect engineering job.
At the end of the day, I can say that I've made an impact on the world.
So I hope you guys all enjoyed that video. And I know that we've highlighted a lot of the civilian opportunities, civilian being, those opportunities or those jobs for individuals who have never worn a uniform. But there also exist, obviously, lots of opportunities to wear that uniform to support the Air Force. And so with that, I'd like to answer any questions that you all might have.
Yeah, great. Let's see. So one student is asking, what is a day in the life of Cindy Dominguez Trujillo look like working on base?
So I am very fortunate. I always say that I probably have the best job on base because I get paid to give back to the community that I grew up in. So my day on base and outside of that fence line off base is different every day. I get to do things like the Discovery Festival. I get to work with students a great deal. I go to elementary schools. I get to be I'm able to work with students to help them learn how to read, to introduce them to some hands-on STEM, exhibits. I get to work with middle schoolers and start introducing them or talking to them about the different courses they should take if they're interested in pursuing a STEM occupation. I get to go to career fairs at high schools and colleges. And so I am always able to work with those in our community. And it is such a privilege, like I said, I get paid to give back to the community I grew up in. So that's kind of a day in the life of Cindy out at Kirtland.
Well, that's awesome. And kind of, I guess, in that same vein, and this is a relevant question, I think, for all of us as we're both broadcasting from home, but this student's asking, so first, I guess it's kind of a two-part question. So first question is Kirtland Air Force Base virtual right now? And then two, I guess, how can it be virtual in COVID, right?
Right. So a lot of those jobs or those occupations that can be virtual are virtual. For example, I'm one of those individuals. I have been working from home since March, since this all started. But those individuals, obviously, who fly our planes and have to continue flying our planes to, transport supplies, etc., and or work on some of our equipment and or protect our equipment. Obviously, they can't be virtual. And then, of course, we have our law enforcement or our security forces, rather, who protect our gates, right? So they can't be virtual. So they are, they are at the gates. But for example, we talked about the bowling alley, for example. Some of those folks are, they're keeping socially distant and working. They have a little restaurant within the bowling alley. And so they're working like a takeout or, a McDonald's would be working, right? So where you can take out food. So it just depends on what sort of job you perform at Kirtland, whether you're able to currently work virtually or not.
Okay. I think that makes a lot of sense, and just kind of the differences, right, between like essential employees and essential kind of things where you have to be in office, and a lot of these development things that we were talking about before as well have to be hands-on. You can't build prototypes and robots at home necessarily, I guess.
Right. Or like we have our own medical group, for example. Obviously, those in the med group need to go in. They're on the front line, right? Mm-hmm. And provide medical assistance. So
absolutely. Well, I know that there was some talk as well early on about having an Air Force field hospital in New Mexico, kind of in the battle against COVID. And I guess this is kind of probably where this question's stemming from. But one student's asking, so is Kirtland Air Force Base doing anything or kind of fighting in any way on the forefront, kind of against our current pandemic COVID situation?
So obviously, like I said, we have a medical group, so they are providing medical support. I can also tell you that Sandia National Labs resides on Kirtland Air Force Base. They are about 12,000 of the employees that reside, those 24,000 that come across the gates. And to my knowledge, they are doing some research in the COVID area.
Amazing. Yeah, it really is amazing, and just all the different networks have to come together to kind of fight this horrible disease. So yeah, that's great. And this is a cool question. So we've talked a lot about in this Discovery Festival about rockets, things like that. We had Virgin Galactic on, and even with AFRL, there was some talk about the Space Force. And so bringing this kind of full circle with you, Cindy. Do you work with the Space Force? Is Kirtland planning on working with the Space Force? What can you share with us about that?
I know what you all know in terms of the Space Force. I know that Kirtland is being considered to bring one of the component of the Space Force here. I can tell you that I do work with some Space Force individuals, not here locally. In the position that I'm in, I'm very fortunate to be able to work with lots of other individuals at different Air Force bases. And so I do work with an individual who's on the Space Force through what we call our barrier analysis working group. And that's a group that takes a look at different barriers that might be preventing us from being able to hire individuals from our local community, for example. So that's about as close as I come to the space component as you're going to get. And then, of course, work closely with individuals over at the Air Force Research Laboratory who I know frequently work with some of the, some of the space components.
It's interesting, and it is timely. I was just reading an article, actually, I think this past week, where Mayor Keller was announcing that I think we're in the top 10 of the rankings or something for consideration for the Space Force. So that would be cool. That'd be really cool.
That would be really.
Well, of course, Virgin Galactic, they were, when we had them on our virtual Discovery Festival, they were talking about their planned first space launch from New Mexico was scheduled for the end of the month. And then, as we found out also this week, is that ended up getting delayed because of some weather stuff. But it's cool. I mean, New Mexico, from aliens or weather balloon landing in Roswell back in the 40s to now, is kind of on the forefront of a lot of this stuff. So it's really, really, really neat to see. And it looks like another question we had come in, and this is our last question for now, but this student's asking, what is a security clearance?
So security clearances vary. A lower level type of security clearance can be something like, let's say you're pulled over for a speeding ticket. For example, a police officer, what they do is they run a check on you to ensure that you don't have any warrants out for your arrest. So the lowest type of security clearance could be something that looks something like that. And then, of course, if you have a top secret clearance, obviously they're going to dive into your background much deeper than to see if you have warrants out for your arrest, right? So what that will entail is it entails a whole lot of paperwork that we have to complete, answering lots of questions. And then an investigator goes out and asks individuals who know you, who have worked with you, if you're of good character, if you're trustworthy, if you're reliable. And then it's determined based on all of the information that's gathered on you, whether you can be afforded a top secret clearance. And then, of course, we have clearances that are, somewhere in the middle of that, right? We have secret clearances but there's just a variety and a multitude of clearances out there. I always tell applicants when they're asking me, not to be afraid of the fact that a job might require a clearance. The bottom line is we're all human and we're all allowed to make mistakes. And most of us have made mistakes, some bigger than others. And that does not preclude you from being given a clearance.
Okay. That's good to know, right? And I think it's multifaceted. I mean, you guys deal with some really important things that need to be kept a secret for the safety of our nation, safety of all the people who live here in the wonderful United States. And kind of in that same vein, so if somebody has like a dual citizenship, for example, does that exclude them from getting a security clearance?
So when you work for the federal government, not just the Air Force, you do have to be a U.S. citizen. So in order to get a clearance, for example, obviously you would need to be a U.S. citizen.
Okay. Awesome. Cool. Well, keep those questions coming, students and teachers. Again, if your students have any questions, please send them to us. We'd love to read them here on the live stream. That's all we got for now, Cindy.
Okay, cool. So I'd like to move to the next video. The next video is really just a little bit about the history of the Air Force, give you the opportunity to take a look at a few of those planes that I know people get so excited about. I can tell you that out here at Kirtland Air Force Base, we have what we call the C-130 planes. You all may have seen those flying in our skies. They have a rounded, they're gray, and they have a rounded nose, and they're huge planes. They're utilized frequently to deliver supplies. They're just ginormous. And then, of course, we have the Huey helicopter. It has 2 blades and then tail rotors. We use that to frequently to do medical evacuation. And then, of course, we have our Hawks again. Those are yet again another helicopter type of plane, and we use those, my understanding is, in a hostile environment. We can use them in day or night to rescue folks. And then, of course, we have our Osprey. You all may have seen those in some of our previous videos. It kind of looks like a plane, but then it turns into a helicopter. And I know that you have seen those flying over our skies here in New Mexico. So with that, let's move to that next video.
It's easy to find your limits. Eventually, you hit a wall or a ceiling. In the Air Force, we tell our own to aim high. Since the beginning, we've refused to accept limits. We don't hit walls. It wasn't that long ago they said man couldn't fly. In 1947, we broke the sound barrier. The Tuskegee Airmen broke the color barrier. America's women broke the gender barrier. Some walls are inside your head. Some walls are in the minds of others. Intolerance, ignorance, oppression. The Berlin blockade was a wall you could touch. We broke through. More than 2 million tons of cargo, food, clothing, medical supplies were airlifted across the Soviet line. The Arctic saw a C-47 Skytrain become the first plane to ever land at the North Pole in 1952. In 1978, GPS was born with the launch of Navstar, and guided defense systems became reality. The first enlisted RPA pilot, the first American female fighter pilot, soon, the first female special tactics airman. The Enola Gay ushered in the nuclear era. We've made planes all but invisible. We were the first to parachute from outer space. We have to aim higher because there are no boundaries in this Air Force. We see the impossible. We see things no one else sees. But we don't see walls. Where others see barriers, we see bridges to the future. Hard to cross, dangerous, with no guarantee. But what's on the other side is worth it. It's not greatness or glory, it's selflessness. We don't break barriers for ourselves, because to break through is not the end of your journey. It's the beginning of 1,000 journeys for those right behind you. Inside every one of us is something so small and enormous, it has the potential to change the world. It's our purpose. Small because it's personal, enormous because of its power. It's been said that the 2 most important days of your life are the day you're born and the day you find out why. Everything was impossible until someone did it. You have sworn an oath to follow orders. Your orders are to look to the horizon. Look to the sky. Space. Dare to see beyond everything we know. The future is waiting for you to create it. Walls are built of fear and doubt. The ones who break through are the ones who never saw a wall at all. Aim high, airmen.
All righty. So with that, if we don't have, do we have any more questions?
Let's take a look here. Nope, it looks like no more questions.
Okay, then I'd like to conclude with encouraging all of our teachers to come out and visit us, or to reach out to me and visit us out at Kirtland. Once this pandemic is over, I'd love to bring your students out to Kirtland. And then finally, students, I'd like to encourage you to pursue your dreams, just like the video said, tear down those walls and aim high.
Awesome. And what I can do, Cindy, is I can share my email inside the YouTube chat function here. And then teachers, if this sounds like something you want to connect with Cindy about down the line, once the pandemic is concluded and everything like that, please reach out to me and I can connect you with Cindy. She'd be a great resource for getting you all out onto base, taking a look at all the wonderful things that they have going on out there. Okay.
And if not, I look forward to seeing all of you at Discovery Festival next year.
Yeah, exactly. Can you believe? Next year in a convention hall with all of our students, it'd be great to see everyone again.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Cindy.
Thank you. Take care.
Right, take care. Bye-bye. And don't forget, teachers and students, we do have another presentation today. Over at 1 p.m., we have Central New Mexico Community College who's coming on to talk about recruitment. Tomorrow at 9:30 a.m., we have C&M again to talk about recruitment. And then we have at 11 a.m., we have Los Alamos National Laboratories who's going to be talking about some of the wonderful work that they do there up in Los Alamos. And then at 1 p.m., we have Arizona State University, their Ira Fulton Schools of Engineering. So that being said, let's see here. I do want to give a shout out to our wonderful sponsors as always. Honeywell, our presenting sponsor for this festival. What you're seeing would not be possible without Honeywell. Thank you so much, Honeywell. Fidelity Investments, our Curie sponsor for this event. Aztec Machine and Repair, Airforce Research Laboratories, the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, Kirtland Air Force Base, Micronet Solutions, Sandia National Laboratories, and Presbyterian Hospitals. Okay, that's all that we have for you. Now we will see you again here in just about an hour at 1 p.m. for Central New Mexico Community College. Stay healthy, stay safe, and we will see you then.